I'm on the outskirts, the edge of being there. I'm giving out, I'm blending out. I'm radioactive, sociopathic, old tactics to keep us down, critical mass.
Well, hello there.
Hi.
What's up? Welcome back to another episode of the Commonwealth podcast. This is episode 8, and it don't feel right. Some don't feel right. I don't know what it is. A little off. We're gonna get into it, but you'll notice today that I actually have a guest with me. Again, this is the second time that we've had her on the show. Is Ina. She'll be joining us for our Wednesday show. Trying some new things and trying to figure out if we're going to do multiple shows during the week and kind of take this podcast thing full steam ahead. So, Ina, tell me a little bit of how your week has been.
This week has been adventurous.
Yeah? Yeah? You want to tell me a little bit about it?
All right. What are the adventures I wanted to disclose? Okay, so creatively, I have been in this realm of figuring out how I can use AI in the places that I need it because I don't have staff. So
Same.
like on the business side, right?
Same.
So I've been like fucking around with ChatGPT a little
Yep.
bit. I've been asking questions. I don't know. I'm just exploring, right?
Yeah, no. I agree with you. I've actually been doing the same thing.
Word.
Finding opportunities to utilize it to where I might stall, right? So for an example,
Facts.
like a social media post for an ad, if I'm stalling or if I'm finding myself getting backed up on doing it because I haven't taken the time to like draft some ideas, I'll use that.
Totally.
And it's effective.
Cool.
It hasn't gotten me any leads yet, but
Well, but
We'll
that
get
takes
there.
time too, right? Like,
Yeah.
so, I mean, my fundamental principle around running a creative business is that as long as I am exploring, adventuring, and trying something new every day, I consider that a win. So that's part of my success. Like you and I were just sort of off camera having a discussion about success and what success looks like and where we feel successful. And one of the things that I've sort of built into this journey is having these smaller signposts, if you will. Like for me, I'm walking towards this horizon line that I got an intuition for a few years ago, for instance, right?
okay.
So as I'm journeying towards this horizon line, with every step, I have some markers that allow me to celebrate along this journey.
Yeah, I think one of those for me would be probably retirement, right? Like I think
Is that your horizon line?
no. I think that was a goal post or a signpost that basically communicated that, all right, cool, that was checked off the block, right?
Got
Which
it.
unlocked
Got it.
all these other things, right? So I think that
So when you're talking about retirement, though, because not everybody may know that you've retired from like your old career in a way, and you're moving into this new career, right? Is that kind of what you mean, or did
Say
I
that
take
again?
that wrong? So like you've retired from like your old self, your old career, like your old goals within that career to start this new career in a way.
yes, yeah.
Right.
So like the whole original idea was that retiring from military service would enable me to have the financial freedom to take risks and be an entrepreneur.
Right. So
Yeah.
someone, I don't know who this is on the chat.
That's Nay.
He needs a vision board. I'm like, what do you mean by that? Like, why do you think he needs a vision board and for what?
I think that I've thought about getting a vision board and, using that as a
Well, why aren't you using this? That's right here. It's a
because
whiteboard.
this is practical. Like I'm functionally using this for what it's on there. So
get
so-
one that's just like this and put it right next to it and do all of your
yeah, we probably are.
potentials.
Yeah, we probably are.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're probably gonna double up our
Absolutely, you have the
whiteboards.
space for it. Yeah.
But I think that what I've been doing is intentionally identifying things specifically that I want for myself.
I'm sorry.
What? All right, so I missed it.
Keep going. I'm sorry.
No.
Sorry.
We got. I need to figure out what happened. What?
I'm specifically and intentionally.
Yeah, it was.
I'm laughing because this process is so unknown.
Yeah.
So the more that you try to like drive down and get very,
Yeah.
tactile and specific, it's like, bro, then you're like limiting yourself in scope when sometimes you just need to let it breathe.
Yeah.
And like, or, organically sort of grow itself.
I don't know.
So there's I
have a lifetime.
Unique balance between being a creative coming out of a very strict environment.
Yeah.
Right.
I think so. I kind of have this lifetime of experience that has shown me that intent and effort drive progress towards goals, right? And I've just kind of rinsed and repeated that in every aspect of my life. Mm-hmm. So it kind of makes me feel like maybe...
Well, there's comfort there too. Let's not...
Well, yeah, 100%.
Let's not forget to talk about the comfort.
Yeah, 100%.
And I'm not saying comfort is wrong or...
No, but comfort is comfort.
Yeah, there's no judgment around the comfort.
There's no judgment around the comfort, but there is the observation that comfort seldomly gives growth.
Where you want to go.
Well, yeah, unless where you want to be is comfortable.
Right. Which is not the same thing as being expansive or edgy or in some respects successful, right?
Yeah.
So like we were kind of... So, okay. Do you know what success looks like for you?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, so you're over here.
Yeah, actually,
hold on.
I'm identifying that
you're
now.
You're over here trying to get specificity in some shit, but you haven't actually defined what success is for you, and that's the most important fucking thing.
Right, but to do that, you have to...
You do not have to add anything to the process. You don't have to have a before. This is where people get fucked up. Like, everyone thinks I have to do this before. What?
Keep the mic in your face.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks that you have to do a before you actually get to do the thing that you want. What? Here?
Like right in front of your mouth.
Right.
Yep.
Here.
Right there.
Okay.
All right.
Hold on a minute. Wait. Okay. The reality
and
is...
you can turn it, like tilt it.
Yeah.
It'll tilt. Yep, there you go.
The reality is you don't. Do the fucking thing. Do the desirable thing. There is no before. So you don't have to define anything else before you define what success means to you. That in and itself, that exploration of defining what success actually means to you is the most important thing, and that will drive everything else.
Right, but the act of identifying something for yourself means you have to observe that which you find favorable to want and have a desire for. So the before is me going through and saying, hey, I know I want to be successful. I know that the house that I'm in isn't the house that I want to be in. Okay. So what house do you want to be in, Garland? What does that house look like, right? Okay. And so to specifically identify those things And what I identified is that the house that I want to live in is $5 million.
Okay.
So success would be living in that $5 million home.
So what you're
Like, that's how I'm starting to define what success is for me.
in a way, though, that would be being able to afford that residence
Yeah.
is a marker of your success. That's not actually identifying what success means for you.
No. Because we were talking about what does success look like for me?
No, I wanted to know what it means to you. What is it to you? Like, what are the... Let me give you an example. Success to me means that I'm doing shit like this. I'm collaborating with other artists. I'm trying out new forms of media. I'm creating new things on a consistent basis that are both fun and brings me income, right?
Okay.
So it's wide, but also it's like the parameter. It's the parameter of success. And then within that parameter, I have specifics. So the other side of the like specifics within that realm, it's going to look like having my 40K drop at the top of every season, having the 20K drop every fucking month. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So like there's a vision of like the landscape of what success looks and means like for me. Because not everybody's version of success is going to be mine.
Well, I think my original success definition was more along the lines of I just want to be living comfortably as a creative, doing creative work.
Okay.
And it was very non-specific. It was very, very vague.
But it's a good start.
Well,
like,
I
it's
mean,
a good start.
I've grown from that, right? Because that in a definition in itself was fitting in so many different aspects that it was hard for me to find exactly what it is I was saying I wanted. And that's when I went as far, I was talking to my therapist earlier this week. I was like, hey, the question was, what is it, I'm working towards? What is it that I want,
Yeah.
And that's,
you got to know
that's
that.
been what, well, I mean, but who knows that?
I know that.
You know that.
Yeah. Let me tell you. I'm working towards getting a residency in another country, meaning house is paid for, a visa is taken care of. All I have to manage is getting there with the kids that want to join me, because I'm a single mom. So the kids that want to join me there, and which country is it going to fucking be in, which I pretty much know which country I want to go to already.
Which is?
I'm not going to say all that.
Okay.
But you probably have some hints based on some of our other conversations.
Got it.
So, because I want to move out of the States.
Right.
So these are also.
See how you have desires?
Exactly.
Right.
My desires flow into success, and they become the markers of some of my like goals. So it's like as I'm hitting the horizon. So the horizon line is sort of like, and then my horizon line may change. That's the thing also that people have to remember. You're walking towards a horizon line, but the scenery around you and your environment is going to change with every step, with every mile marker, and even the horizon itself may start to look different as you approach it. So you've got to have the like flexibility, the adaptability, the ability to adjust as you navigate this journey, right? And it's also around really being present in the journey. Like when you're fully present in the journey, then you get to pick up on the signs of opportunity because you're reading the signs correctly and not out of some sort of past or not out of some sort of perceived future, but you're living in the present so much that you're dialed in. Like you're really dialed into the journey and the process.
Yeah.
I think as a creative, those are really fundamental to us really like sharing with the world what we're here to share, why we're unique, and giving out the art and the creative energy that we need to.
So you said a couple things that I want to kind of
Yeah.
talk about, unpack a little bit.
Okay.
I think the most prevalent one that I want to talk about is this idea of being present in the moment, right? So,
Awesome.
I told you we had a shoot a couple days ago, and during the shoot, the process of doing it, it was a shoot. I was partnered with somebody else. I was second shooting for a friend.
Okay.
Who's in the same program I'm in, and it was a very pleasant process. I actually enjoyed it more than working by myself.
Cool.
Because I was so focused, because I was being present in a moment, and I wasn't just like I normally am. Normally, I'm locked in on what needs to get done and what's next to get through the day. But because it was two of us, and I was second shooting, he was driving. So since he was driving the day and telling me what to do, it was very simple, easy for me to be present in the day. It gave me the opportunity to identify how much I enjoy being present and
just
filmmaking.
Being creative.
The filmmaking process.
Right. And
like
let
capturing the
else
imagery.
Do all of the other
yes,
shit. Yes,
100%.
Right. I think
100%.
as a creative too, this is the fine line that we're navigating, especially right now, right?
Yeah.
Because many of us are out here doing multiple roles as entrepreneurs, creative entrepreneurs. Like, we have to start somewhere. So we start with what we can, like what's right in front of us.
Yeah.
So that does mean that we end up taking on all these multiple roles, and it does get in the way of just doing the craft.
It will literally drain you of your pleasure from something.
So the balance that I typically find in that is I sort of write into my schedule every month just a whole week to be creative. I'm not doing any back end work. No administration. I'm not making fucking phone calls. I'm not doing to-do lists.
Yeah.
Like, I'm literally just waking up and doing whatever creative thing I want.
Yeah.
For an entire week out of the month. Then I'll have like a different week where I'm like, okay, I've got to make phone calls. I've got to whatever, like household shit, right? Then I'll have a week that's just admin for the business.
And you do it in week intervals?
I do it in week intervals because that's what works for me. Because I find that if I try to do, there was a period of time where it was like a day was this, a day was that, a day was that out of the week. I fucking hated it, bro.
Yeah.
I fucking hated it. I just felt like I was running like a hamster wheel. I did not, energetically, that shit didn't work for me.
I think for a creative, that says a lot. Having weeks at a time to do things, like a marketing week.
Then it's like,
yeah,
you have a full, or even if you want to do like, I kind of have a weird week too. So like, I'm really only doing 4 days a week, and I have like a triangle of days off in the week, basically. So like Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday.
I don't see what you're saying.
I just work Monday, Tuesday, Thursday,
Friday. How do you maintain progress Swiss cheesing the days up like that?
What do you mean Swiss cheesing the days up?
Like if you look at this, the way, because you're interrupting a flow. So
for me, rest is part of my flow. It's not an interruption.
See, that should, and this is why I like having conversations, because of the shift in perspective, right? Yeah. Like rest gets in the way. Like the military got in the way of me being a creative. You know what I'm saying?
Being creative. Like, you've got to rest. You've got to consume some other shit. You got to watch some, in my case, I got to watch my Thai BL. I got to watch my K-dramas. I got to scroll fucking TikTok.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that shit helps offset the stressors of, the reality of my beingness in this moment, right? Like, I have 3 kids. I'm a single mom. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm the matriarch of my household. So alongside being a creative entrepreneur and, having commissions and getting creative work done, and thinking ahead about what am I doing this season? What am I preparing for next season?
Yeah.
I'm also running an entire fucking household, and I'm responsible for 5 entities in my house. I got 2 cats and 3 kids. That's 5 other earth beings that I'm responsible for, as well as myself. So absolutely, rest has got to be included.
See, that's one of the things that was actually another reason why I ended up deciding to get out of the military. And that was because I felt like the military was getting the best of me, and I felt like my family was getting the rest of me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like I was never really home when I was home.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And because I was very ambitious, then when I'd come home, I'd have other things I'd be working on anyway.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird, you know?
Well, and I like this comment because this is exactly the shift in perspective that we're talking about. So homie is talking about, oh, the real world, you don't get to rest. And I would offer this to you, okay? Your real world, I'm going to make some assumptions here, but the real world that I hear you talking about is one that's based out of capitalism, colonialism, and tenets of white supremacy and oppression. So of course you don't get to rest because they love free labor. Like this society that we live in loves free fucking labor. So I personally don't subscribe to that because it's not that I don't live in the real world. I'm absolutely a part of, I live on Earth just like you live on Earth. The difference is that the way that I negotiate my time here on Earth has a very different relationship to the larger social environment. And it's cool that you don't agree. You may not agree. I'm not here to change your perspective.
I think that's a choice, right? You can make a conscious choice to be.
This is what I was heading towards.
To subscribe or not to subscribe to.
What's also the fundamental thing I wanted to say is you absolutely have the choice of how you want to show up and relate to your environment. Whether your environment is your house, whether it's the relationships in your life, whether it's the society at large, you get to make these choices. And with those choices comes growth and or consequence. So, I mean, you know, we all get and have the right to make choices in our lives.
Yeah.
And so it is really a choice.
You
can
know,
shift your perspective or you can't. You can subscribe to, you know, it's like for me, the realities that go on within the environment and the larger social construct, they are what they are based on my personal experience and the collective experience of those that I've been blessed to be around.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I absolutely understand that not everybody has had that experience. And that's okay. That doesn't delineate, for me specifically.
But I think that everyone comes to a point in their life where they do recognize that their own success is dictated by the choices they decide to make, right? With the options and availability that they have around them. Okay?
Absolutely.
So for me, this is new because there was a lack of options in the military.
Absolutely.
Right? And so now there's an abundance of options and an abundance of directions I could go into. And,
absolutely.
You know, so it takes for me to meticulously filter through decisions before I, you know, actually put all my, because I had it all planned getting out the military. I was like, oh yeah, I'll just get out the military and I'll start working freelance, right? Well, working freelance comes with marketing issues and, you know, advertising issues, lead generation. It's a whole thing. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So then, okay, in the meantime, I'll supplement that and go to school as well and upskill myself, right? Well, that comes with its own issues too. And as you filter through that, you start to decide whether or not, well, that was the right call or not. You know what I mean?
Right.
So as I'm making the call forward and I'm saying, hey, this is what I want. What are we working towards? Success. What does success look like?
Right.
Okay, these are the aspects of success that I am working to obtain. Because we already have a couple constants that I can bank on.
Okay.
Like I have a lot of confidence that I
There's
can,
a lot of work. Yeah.
yeah, I can do anything I want to do.
We all
Like,
can.
I think everybody has the capability to,
Absolutely.
but not everybody's
But
inclined to.
I think it's also like sometimes folks have this connotation that when someone is speaking around the expansiveness of human life and choice and liberation, that somehow it's easy. I'm not saying it doesn't require effort.
Right.
All I'm saying is that you can make the fucking choice.
Yeah.
You have agency and authority over the way your life is lived.
Right.
And once you understand that, you become self-aware of that. It doesn't mean that it's a lack of effort or that work is not required. It just means that there's a larger sense of, I would say, grounding in your own peace.
Yeah, but then, so here's the thing. When you learn that you can do anything you want to do.
Mm-hmm. Within reasonable delusion.
Sure.
Let's
We're
talk
speaking
about
generally.
reasonable delusion, right?
Sure. I strongly believe that I am capable of achieving anything I put in front of me.
Probably.
Strongly, like,
Right.
I have a lot of confidence in that. It may not happen overnight, but
Nothing happens
I have
overnight.
what it takes to be able to accomplish it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So then I said, okay, now that I know that for a fact,
Mm-hmm.
what you want to work for.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And that
Good
was like
question.
a really big thing to sit back and ask myself, like, what are we working towards? All right, financial freedom. What does financial freedom look like?
Exactly.
I'm going to tell you, my definition of financial freedom is not other people's financial definition of financial freedom.
Of course,
right?
it wouldn't be.
Sure.
Right? It wouldn't be.
I think that
Yeah.
when we say that, though, what we're doing is dismissing that there is a generally accepted definition of what financial freedom looks like.
Yeah, and I will tell you, sometimes I just realized this recently. The way that I speak about life, because I'm such a language buff, but I also realize that language is a spectrum. So for me, language came about within the human experience so that we could fully express our ideas, our constrictions, and our emotional state, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a way of communicating. And so I try to do my best to sort of define how I'm using specific language. I don't know what that is, but I'm
I
gonna
don't
just
know what
keep-
it is either. It wasn't me. I think Siri has some input.
Oh, well, Siri can fuck off. But like, so when you say financial freedom, like to me, everything is a spectrum. So, within that spectrum, when you're saying financial freedom, financial freedom and what that looks like or what that can be is an absolute spectrum, right?
Yeah.
And everyone is going to have a little piece of that spectrum. They're going to be in different, places within that spectrum. And so these larger concepts or words or sort of ideology, I think for the longer, not longer, but like when we're communicating, we have to sort of find our ground of commonality when we're using these larger terms. Because you're right, there's definitive definitions of things, there's connotations of things, and then there's how people actually use that word or that concept, right? And you've got to take all of those things into account if you're actually going to communicate something with somebody else.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's really important to kind of finalize that before we get into it in a way. Right?
So, I mean, so for me, financial freedom is the freedom to use finance without consideration. That is what financial freedom sounds like to me. Like, I don't want to think about what I'm buying. I don't want to think about whether or not I can afford this or whether this is a good purchase. And that requires a lot of capital and a lot of residual income.
Right.
Residual income and different streams of revenue, right?
True.
So that's led to a couple different endeavors that I've started to put energy behind to kind of just see if I can get some things moving.
Right.
Because I have the opportunity to do it now that I'm not in the military. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The podcast. You know what I'm saying? My, production company.
Right.
What I do, with some other ventures that I have going on that I won't dive
and then
into.
that's kind of where you rely on your network, right? Like you've got to have a network of people. That's something I will say I didn't really understand the value of a network until my late 30s. Because I also grew up in an era was like, just go out there and hustle. And they had certain parameters around what the hustle was supposed to be and how it was supposed to operate. And the reality was that I was somewhere around 32 where I was like noticing that in the economy and labor force itself, none of that shit was working. None of that old shit was working. It just wasn't. It was starting to deteriorate already. It didn't have value anymore, right? Like, why am I going to give 10 years to a company when they're trading my motherfucking pension on the stock market?
Yeah.
Because what I'm putting in, I'm not even going to get that back now. I don't have control over it anymore, and neither do they.
Right.
Right. So it's like once those parameters started to change, that's why you have an entire generational spectrum now from millennials and younger who are just like, fuck all this shit. This shit ain't working. And as a Gen Xer, I'm like, you're fucking right. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you, bro. Like, learn some new shit. Try some new shit out. Like, all I can really do is support you because I don't know.
Right.
Like, and I haven't known for a good 15 years. And I used to tell my, like the older generation about this shit. And some people would be kind of like, oh, I didn't realize it was changing in this manner. And others would just be like very staunchly trying to always like defend this old, paradigm that really isn't working anymore. And it's just like, yo, it's not fucking working.
I kind of feel the same way.
Like,
just in my life right now and between, like, for instance, right? Like I have I put like 25 applications in for different jobs,
the
HR jobs,
process.
Oh
God.
And as I'm doing it, I'm doing it half-heartedly, right?
Always,
because I don't want to. I want to build my own stuff.
I get it.
You know what I mean? Every time I say it, I get excited. It was like, yeah, but I could be doing this for me.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And I when I look at myself, I say, no matter what that job is, no matter what job I'm looking at going to right now, I guarantee I have a higher earning potential within myself. I can make more money out here on my own.
Kinda, yeah, man. Like, it's also because, oh man, since 2018, I have, from 2018 to last year, I finally just like stopped putting in applications. But 2018 to 2022, I was steady putting in applications, like every season, multiple applications. And it was the first time in my life, like I actually had a conversation with somebody recently about like aging out of the workforce at fucking 45.
Yeah. It's a thing.
It's like something in my resume is telling y'all I'm old. And I don't know what the fuck it is because I'm old.
Yeah. No, it's not even just that.
I couldn't even fucking find it. Like, cause I don't really know, but like, I wasn't the only person that was having this issue.
Yeah.
And it was like, being more than qualified for something is a detriment to getting hired these days. I also just recently
say that one more time. Say that one more time. A detriment to getting hired.
The detriment to getting hired is having the experience. Like having a certain amount of experience is almost like a detriment to getting hired.
You're talking about being overqualified.
In a way, I don't even think that I'm overqualified for the position, because if I'm not in the position, what the fuck do I know about it? Like, it's still a learning curve. Do you know what I'm saying? However, I feel like the experience that I carry was a detriment to me getting hired, because I've been in operations a long time. I've been in human resources a long time. I've been across 10 different industries over my career. And so what used to be considered attribute in some ways these days is considered a detriment, because the way that they're hiring is really job specific. Like, I only want you to do this one thing, which, as somebody who grew up in an environment where it was like, I'm going to throw you in the fire and expect you to do every fucking thing all day, like the whole time that you're at this position, I do enjoy that there's been a shift. However, somebody like myself is now really just relegated to being a consultant, because it's
kind of naturally where we should be in life anyway at this point.
You're absolutely
we
right.
should be mentoring.
Right. Yeah. Because it's true that there's experience that I have that some others are not going to have. And what that really looks like is it's the landscape perception. It's also bringing forth some of the things from like the OG world into the newness of what's happening now.
Yeah.
Because there's always going to be tenants that you still need, even though you've got, the sort of newness of technology and all the benefits of what's going on now. There's certain things that help ground that work to become classic, right? By using some of the OG tenets.
I feel like we say OG tenets, but what we're really saying is like fundamental life skills.
Some of them can be.
I just kind of feel like there haven't been any replacements that have changed the need for that kind of fundamental, social structure to exist. We haven't moved beyond that, is essentially what's going on.
Yeah, I kind of.
How did he get in here?
I don't know who.
Get over here.
I'm curious about what you consider to be fundamental life skills before I'm going to sign on to that conversation. But yeah, what do you consider a fundamental life skill?
Just a second. Let me just poke my head right quick.
Homie over here, by the way.
Well, if I had applause, let's do an air horn for my man Stick Steve just came in the building.
Oh, yay. Wonderful. I was looking to meet you. Nice to meet you.
What's going on? Yeah, you can see I'm running the boards by myself. But yeah, how did you get in the house without walking through the front door?
Garage, bro.
I came into the patio.
Oh.
How did you get to the gate?
I text Ari.
And you text Ari? Yeah. And she told you to come through the back door? Yeah. You could have came to the front.
I didn't want to disturb the podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm finna put you on here. What are you talking about? Nate looking for you. She said boo boo.
Gas station, listen to y'all like, yo, y'all doing good. It's like I'm in the gas station,
right?
Drive through thing, hear y'all podcast. Y'all sound like trash, bro.
You silly. Let's use this quick break to take a pivot into the other topic of discussion that we wanted to get into.
All right.
So I think we talked about it. We introduced the discussion in the car, correct?
Yeah. Which one?
Not that one.
I feel like we had like several threads happening.
Not the big one that you were like, yo, I feel like that's something that's gonna need its own dedicated show.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This is more spiritual life, intrinsic value.
Got it.
Like,
yeah, because you
that
said
kind of
something.
stuff.
You have something on your heart you want to talk about, so let's talk about it.
Yeah. So, ultimately, the general feeling that I have right now is that things don't feel right. Right? Like as they ought to be. And ought to be is very subjective.
Suspicious. It's a suspicious sentiment, because you're in a sense you're like, things aren't the way they
Something's
should
off.
be, which means that you're operating out of some level of expectation or perception that really may not be based in the present reality.
It's a discomfort in the comfort that exists right now for me.
That's a big thing for a lot of people.
Is it?
So much.
I feel so alone right now about this.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
People pay me like $450 an hour just because of that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we will spend an entire season getting to the root of why you feel like that.
Like something is off. Well, I think I'm pretty good at like digging and looking myself, right? 'Cause
Yeah,
I
but
care.
are you also balanced in the approach? Because here's the thing about digging. Does digging actually solve the comfort problem?
So historically, the way I've dealt with change like this is that it starts with an introspective dig to identify what my absolutes are, right? So for example,
Okay.
we're finna get there now.
Yeah, we're going there.
I definitely,
because you're
whatever I
saying
smoked before
absolutes,
this,
and I'm like,
not
what
high
are
enough.
the absolutes?
I'm finna hit you with it.
Yeah.
All right. So listen,
What are
used to-
these absolutes?
So
Talk to me.
back when I was I am not lit. Who said I'm lit?
Who's left?
I'm sober as dog shit right now. So look, this is, I ought to be, but I'm not.
Okay.
Okay. So this is the thing. When I was an airman, we would have opportunities, I'd be out on a deployment or something like that. And there would be a moment where it would be just quiet. I'd be out in a vehicle on a flight line waiting for an aircraft to taxi or the crew to do their pre-flight or something like that. And I would have a solid 45 to 2 hours of time where I can kind of pick at myself and ask myself
Questions.
Yep.
Okay.
To question myself, ask myself what I really felt about myself, my behavior, the things I was doing, the things I was into, the direction I was going into. I would just be introspective at those times.
Okay.
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 As I got older and older and older, the closer to this age I got and the further in the military I got, the less comfortable I felt in doing that. Or the less opportunity rather, because you're busy.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So what retirement has done is given me the opportunity to get that again. So there's been a lot of introspective thinking, right? There's
Okay.
been a lot of digging, right? And that's how, like, okay, cool. Something's off. What's wrong? I don't know. Let's figure it out. All right. So the number one thing is that I want to be working towards success, right? Well,
Okay.
what does working towards success look like?
You're
right?
doing it right now.
Right. No.
Absolutely.
Well, sure, but this is not the work that I am focused on doing, right? Because this work isn't the work that I want to be doing that is going to generate that stream of revenue.
That's
I need.
You're limiting yourself and your expansion by.
I'm
thinking
not
that
because I'm
way.
doing this.
No, I'm just saying, like, if you believe that what you're doing is not actually in alignment with where you're going, then you're limiting your efforts in getting to where you want to go. Whereas, like, so let me give you the shift. The shift is everything that I do every day leads me towards the success that I want, the success that I understand, and even the success that I will have and obtain that is unknown. Everything that I do is leading me towards that success. That's the shift.
It's very interesting. Dave, I think it says David Reyes says it all starts with do you love yourself in the situation you're in, like in life, and accepting it, and accepting if you could be more.
That's right.
So let's
Self-love
answer
is
that
very
simple
key,
question right
but
there,
so
right?
is acceptance, and acceptance is broad.
Sure. There are
Like-
things that I've never been accepting of myself.
Clearly,
Yeah.
That's the limit.
Yeah.
So you self-impose, probably consciously and subconsciously,
Yeah.
these limitations or like these barriers, like, oh, what I'm doing now is not going to get me to the yet, right? There's
Right.
always this sensibility of like, I'm not doing what I need to yet to get to where I want to go, versus you can just open that door and kick down that barrier and be like, everything I do, everything I think, everything I feel is in alignment with the success that I know and the success that is unknown.
Well, I think that's what called into question the recent behavior of applying for jobs and then these interviews that I have coming up and like meetings with like corporate people that I have coming up. Good. Good that I identified that this is the furthest away from right that I want to be.
That's not the furthest away.
It
from
is,
right.
though.
It could be a process of you actually getting clients. Like, you may have an interview. Check this out. I've had interviews.
What did you just look at? What was that?
Check this out. I have had interviews with people where the position that I'm interviewing for, they're like, we're going to hire somebody else for this job because you're more expansive than this job. Give us a contract for the expansion that you can actually lead our company into. And that ends up being a $15K contract for 2 months.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So again, it's because my mindset is everything I think, everything that I feel, and everything that I experiment with is in alignment with the successes that I know I want and the successes that are unknown. Because I allow the spectrum of success to be more than I think it could be, because in my experience and in my evidence of living, the universe will give me stuff sometimes that I didn't even know I could have, and that shit is delicious. So I like delicious, so I try to make room for the delicious.
I like delicious.
Okay? I like delicious. I like surprises. I like to have levels of success I didn't even know were fucking possible. Give me all that shit. Like that buffet of delicious living and joy, and like, yeah, I'm here for that shit. The first time I ever got a 10K drop, bitch. I didn't even know I could have a 10K drop. I didn't even know how much I was going to enjoy the 10K drop.
Right.
That shit helped me redefine what I like. Do you know what I'm saying? I couldn't have gotten to there if I didn't shift my mindset into the place of everything I do brings me success. That is a psychological shift that becomes an emotional shift.
I feel like we need to dive deeper because it ain't getting through. Like, I got a thick skull, right?
Okay.
And so in my mind, let me clearly
why can't you accept it?
Well, it's not a level of acceptance, it's an idea that I'm already performing in that manner. It's how I'm speaking and how I project it, right? Because the reason why I continue to do the podcast is because I know that there's potential, that there's a connection, that there's a level of enjoyment that comes with it, and it kind of hits those buttons for me.
Let me hit you with this too.
Yeah.
The things that you enjoy actually are the things that you should be doing. Everything that you enjoy as a creative or as a human being, do more of it. That will ultimately lead you to your purpose here.
And that is why I said, like I said, I'm taking this time and I'm identifying things, right? Yeah. And I saw that I was going down this path of applying for jobs, prepping for interviews in corporate settings. My anxiety started to strike up again. I started making more mistakes again. And I said, hey, you're veering off your track.
Probably.
You know what I'm saying? Like what you're doing right now is not what we need to be doing right now.
Meaning your attention was too focused over there.
No, I think that my desperation to make some strive towards what success looks like for me, which was essentially the financial aspect of it, led me to start panicking and saying, hey, I think I need to read the writing on the wall that this isn't working for me.
Oh, I get it.
You know what I'm saying?
I get it.
And so maybe I need to go just be regular people, do regular people job, regular people work, be okay with that, and watch football on Sundays like everybody else.
Well, the balance is that it's okay as a creative entrepreneur to sometimes be an employee. That doesn't necessarily mean you're off track. I think the balance comes in knowing how to be an employee while being a creative entrepreneur.
Well, I think what I was doing was using
one against the other. Yeah, no, I hear that in what you're saying. Like, I'm getting it because I've also been there. Like, I've been there in that place where it's like, oh, fuck, I don't have any clients on board. I've kind of had a lull for more months than maybe I want to.
Right.
And I'm starting to sort of doubt my trajectory as a creative entrepreneur. And so now I'm going to go over here and become an employee. That's different than finding the balance. But you kind of have to do that. Like, you kind of have to go through that feeling and that process to get to the place that I'm talking about now, which is now I have a balance. Like, I literally, like, we were talking about chat GPT earlier.
Yeah.
One of the things I actually put into this question, the question, one of the questions I put in recently was, here's my skill set. I was like, this is everything I've been doing for the last 3 years. This also kind of harkens back to what we were talking about. Not being able to be hired with the 25-year experience that I had in my old career. Right? Which, as I went through the process that you're in right now, on the other side of that, what I learned was, what I need to be doing is if I'm going to go for the employee position to supplement my current creative endeavors,
right? What
I need to be doing is looking for a position that honors what I've been doing for the last 3 years. So in Chat GPT, I was like, this is my skill set. This is what I've been doing. What position in the art industry will fit what I've already been doing for the last 3 or 4 years?
Right.
And what it gave back to me was gallery manager, gallery director. I was like,
I can see that.
Bet. So then I put in, okay, what are the AI tools that can help me write a resume for this position? Blah, 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 blah. Then I just went off from there. So now I have an alignment between what I've been doing, what I'm growing, and also the fact that when I get a position as a gallery manager or gallery director, that will be in line with being a creative entrepreneur. I will then be meeting the people that I also need to meet.
Well, I think that the reason why
there's a balancing. Like, you can do both, but you've got to be a little bit more intentional about how those two things play into each other.
Well, I think that the reason why mine comes to a hard stop, right, is because I'm certain that I can bridge HR and my experience in people leading into creative production work, right? Sure, I can. But that's not what we're trying to do. And that is such a far pivot from what I really want to do, which was the hardest question to ask myself.
Yeah.
What is it that I really want to be doing right now? Right. And it wasn't until Homeboy came over, we went and did the shoot. And then I saw pictures of me smiling while shooting, because I'm not present when I'm normally shooting. It's like, yo, got to get this done. I'm just trying to get this done. I'm trying to hit marks. I'm trying to make sure I get my shots the best I can, right? So that...
And it's interesting that you use that language. I'm very much in tune with why you decided to use that language in describing how you normally feel.
Well, let's just
at a
get
shoot.
to be very transparent. Never in my life it's not like I use that because I was in the military, right? Like hitting my mark isn't from a military, because I was a maintainer in the military.
Yeah, but
not a marksman. You know what I'm saying?
What it shows is how the conditioning through that military experience is still showing up for you.
Well, sure. And I know that we've talked about this before, that a lot of what I'm experiencing is the combating of the conditioning that I've experienced through being in the military, and then
transitioning out of it.
Exactly, right? And then really making a decision about what it is that has become me through this experience that stays, and what I'm okay letting go of.
Right.
You
Exactly.
know what I'm saying? So like, one of the disheartening things that I didn't want to see go, which is, I mean, we're talking about intrinsic shit, right? We're talking about in me, is regimen and routine. Because regimen and routine is very productive. It's very efficient. And that, for me in the military, has always paid me dividends. Policy, procedure, process, all that. Well, it's very, very difficult for me to implement that into my life, because I'm not personally a person who's like that. I'm an artist.
I would argue with you about that.
You think so?
Not in the sense of being, like adversarial.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But just because I watch you set this show up, for instance, I have conversations with you about the creative process. And for me, one of the things that I recognized most about you is your process. You absolutely have a regimen in how you think. So you may not feel like you have regimen and routine in terms of like waking up at 5 and going to work out and like timestamp shit. But the reality is that how you think through life and how you think through the creative process in order to, make creation happen and make art and make media is absolutely, without question, routined and regimented in your brain. Like you're embodying a level of regimen and routine that you probably haven't even thought about before. And you're not even giving yourself credit for.
That is a recurring theme in my life.
Absolutely. I can see that.
The lack of credit
you do
given
not give
to
yourself
myself,
credit
which
at
is
all.
very, very odd. Because
I think
very, it's why not?
I think so. So from a spiritual, like, oracle perspective, that's what you're working on at this stage in your life. You're learning who you really are and how to accept who you really are fundamentally. At the same time, or not that at the same time, but like simultaneously, you're also looking at your foundations. You're sort of uprooting shit that's not working for you, and you're sort of like recalibrating other things that kind of worked for you before, but you're updating.
Yeah.
Right? Because and I'm no different. I'm just a little older, and I've been in a devotional life a lot longer.
Right.
So like the process for me just looks a little bit different. Right? It doesn't mean that that I'm not still shifting foundations so that I can build on something that's going to uphold the horizon line of where I want to live and where I'm going.
Yeah.
Right. And so, yeah, and again, you just have to go through this process. But
This sucks.
It's a lot more fun if you can give yourself some celebration.
I think that I'm starting to open up to this idea that, like, this time I can take positive control over it and do with it what I want. It's just, like I said, being overwhelmed with the amount of options and choices because I'm so not accustomed to having them.
And it
was all made for me before, right?
The easiest way to like cut through that, right, for lack of a better term, is do the things that bring you the most joy.
And that's where the focus has been coming in, right?
Do the things that make you smile. Do the things that make your heart flutter.
I think you have to experience it to identify it.
You have to adventure.
But you have to give yourself the opportunity to.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's what's been happening,
a choice.
Right?
That goes back to what we were talking about before. That type of lifestyle is a choice. The type of lifestyle that I currently live, I made a commitment to my own joy and self-pleasure. I made a commitment to continually keep myself in a state of creative arousal. That's why my company is called Creative Arousal. That's what I do. I've made that my sole purpose at this point in my life because that's what lights me the fuck up.
Right.
Like the things I'm attracted to, the people I'm attracted to, the processes that bring me joy, the projects that bring me joy, the people that make my heart flutter when they're talking about something that we haven't even created yet. I just absolutely, like a moth to any sort of light source, continue to focus on that light.
Yeah.
And I just keep working within that spectrum. And I let all the details just be what they're going to be around me. Because I can't get too caught up in trying to like be everything or do everything or think that somehow I'm going to control everything. I'm not. I really only get to control what I can control at that moment. And so that helps keep me grounded and fully present in the work.
See, that kind of thinking is dangerous for me because that kind of thinking for me...
Why is it dangerous? What's dangerous
because
about
a lot of my progress always comes from affirmative action, from intentful action, from me being driven, right?
Well, there's a healthy balance between using your intention for action and also simultaneously you're letting the unknown, like
giving the opportunity for the unknown.
The unknown likes that frequency because we actually create. The creative self is in the unknown. It lives in the unknown. Okay. That's the most fervent soil, if you will, for new innovative ideas. It's all coming out of the collective unknown.
Yeah.
Right? This like large, vast energy that can be transmuted into whatever. It's like the black hole, if you will, right? Because that's what a black hole is. It's, you know, they call it dark matter. Well, what is dark matter? The fucking unknown, bitch. Like, that's all it really lies. It's the fucking unknown. We just like to categorize and call shit, but like, it really is just the unknown. Okay. And so that is where the creative, like all of us that are creatives, we're all innovating and intuiting from this collective unknown that we get to tap into as human beings. Oh, don't get to put my feet up. It's very annoying. I want to be able to put my feet up so bad. Oh, thank you for that reflection, Nay. I appreciate you. What is that? Okay. So
here, you can probably see it better.
So the part of our acceptance as creative people is that we're not going to know everything all the time.
That's a very awkward spot for me.
Yeah, I know.
Because I normally have a lot.
So get comfortable with being awkward.
So
hello.
And I am, right? Obviously, I'm in the space.
All right. Are you feeling awkward right now?
No, but okay. What felt awkward was when I was reaching back out to ESPN and when I was reaching out to, when I was, excited about job interviews and all this stuff again, and going back to play the corporate game and the workforce game that society does, right? When I don't feel like that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, do you ever find yourself in a space to say, like, this ain't it? This is not it. Like, I literally, for 3 days straight, I said, this ain't it. There's something off, and I need to change it. And I just need to. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Now, but what we're talking about isn't something as simple as something that changes overnight, because we're talking about circumstances.
It doesn't. You're right that it doesn't necessarily change overnight, but I think like you're getting an intuitive hit, and I would say this is more of like a guidance, right? You're getting an intuitive hit that this might not be the right thing. My guidance for you was be like, go to the interview anyway.
And I think
And
that
go to the
that
interview.
I was going to stay in school off that same energy, right?
Don't.
I was like, yo.
Don't.
Well, let me tell you why. Because one, it aligns with what my goals are.
Does it?
It does. Because I'm in school for film.
Do you really need another certificate?
No, what
to
I
do
need.
what you need to do.
Oh, probably
Do you
not.
need another certificate to make money? No is the answer. So if what are you really going to school for? Are you going there to find a network? Because then maybe it would
I was going to school because going to school aligned with what my success was. So it gave me the network. It gave me money.
It feels
it
like
gave
it's going
me
to change.
Huh?
It feels like that might change, or
Well-
like it's in this.
Well, the only reason why school is up for debate at this very moment is because I feel like my priorities are too split, and that I was in a stronger place when I had the opportunity to focus on one thing instead of balancing these two things, right?
Facts.
Because I it's not that I can't do school. It's just that
Let
right
me ask
now,
you a more direct question. Do you feel that you are getting the network that feels creatively
the school that I'm going to
collaborative
right now,
with you right
no.
now? Okay.
No.
Then drop it.
Well, so that's why I reached out to so hear me out.
Yeah, no, I'm listening. I'm
Right.
just
So I reached out to my counselor. I'm like, yo, let me take the rest of the summer off. Right?
facts.
Let me focus on
One
this
fucking
business
thing. Yeah, no, I get it.
for the summer. And
Yeah.
what is focusing on one thing, right? Focusing on ADF Pro is focusing on the Commonwealth podcast, Art Dilla Films, Affinity Films, Video Vets. It's like all of these things. So even just focusing on one thing is split.
It's still
it's still split.
It's still dynamic.
But there's priority.
That's right.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying?
Still dynamic.
So a lot of it
and
was
this boys and girls is exactly what being a creative entrepreneurial actually fucking looks like. We are out here, okay, doing like all the fucking things all the time because we just, you kind of don't know until you get into it and start working what is actually going to work, what is actually going to be successful, who's viewing what.
this is the reason why the podcast is still going, right?
Right.
'Cause
Which
I don't
I'm
know.
happy for because I also get to play here.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
it's fun.
yeah.
It's fun to have these conversations. It's fun to get
And also-
involved with the community. With
We're sharing things that
audience
I
and stuff.
don't see often shared.
we're not
Which is
talking
like-
about anything I hear anybody else talking about.
Yeah, because this is really like this,
But I'm also-
we're in it. Like
I'm
we're in
also not in a space where I would consume that either.
it.
So if there was like a podcast
I'd
that was already kind of talking about these things, it was kind of one of them situations where like I don't have the bandwidth to allow that.
I understand that as a fine artist, I don't consume other painters. Like, I don't really look at other people's art if I'm in a creative mode, trust me, I don't give a fuck about what you're doing over there. I am completely concentrating on what I'm bringing through from the dark forest, black hole, creative energy, whatever you want to call it.
Right, but
I
you're
call
not
it the
saying
dark
that you've
forest.
never had work as a muse. Obviously, you've been inspired by work before.
Sure, but there are realms of my creativity that I do not allow external input, if that makes sense.
Such as?
External social input. So when I'm painting, if I'm in painting mode or I'm doing a commission, I am not viewing anybody else's artwork for that entire season. Period.
of the production of the work.
No, I'm saying I am not looking at other artists. I'm not on an Instagram looking at other artists. I'm not watching other people's fucking processes. I'm not watching other people's, where they do the process videos, like from illustration to paint. I'm not watching or consuming anybody else's shit if I'm in creative mode, because all that's going to do
Influence
is distract me from what the fuck work I need to be doing.
So I feel that energy, right? I've been in go mode like that before. I've shifted away from that.
It's also shielding. I'm shielding myself from input and making sure that what I'm creating is 1,000% uniquely from my authentic self.
And I think the reason why it applies to us differently is because the work that's being created is for two different demographics and receptions.
True.
Where yours is intimate and individualistic and client based.
Yeah.
Mine's is for mass consumption and mass,
right, because it's video or it's media.
Exactly. So
although I would say that one of the reasons I like our relationship at present is because in a way, I push you to become a little bit more intimate, even in the media space. Like what we're doing right now is pretty intimate on camera.
You think so?
It's much more intimate than just sort of having like this external, right? Like you've got like your hand, a hand's distance between you and the work, which is kind of what it sounds like you usually feel like. You've got like a little bit of a distance between you and the work. Because you're in your mind, it's for mass consumption.
Yeah.
Whereas what we're doing right now is very intimate. We're having like a real time conversation about.
Do you mean like being vulnerable?
Lives. No. There's various.
Because I would say that this is the opposite of that, right? If you and I were having a conversation in the backyard, that would be the intimate space, right?
The reality is that this is equally intimate. It's just on camera intimate.
I think that's what makes it the opposite of intimate, though.
Yeah, but that's because you have a limited scope on what intimacy means.
Thanks.
That doesn't mean that it's any less intimate.
See, as you can see, the more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out.
So here we are.
Like, don't be hitting me with your limited scope on intimacy.
Okay, so in what space, though, right? Because this platform is literally for mass consumption. This platform was created and it was specifically engineered for the purpose of being mass consumed, right?
That's fine, but the relationship that we're having on camera is still an intimate connection. That's my point.
Well, I think that's the awesome thing about podcasts anyway.
Here's the other part of that is that what people like to consume, granted, that's a huge spectrum. I'm not trying to like identify or categorize that or even define it. But my point is that like I watch what I consume, for instance, right? The reason that I like certain types of media and I'm drawn to specific types of media because, I'll be watching something and be like, why do I fucking like this so much? Not that I have to have why. It's more because I like to be curious about me. I'm very curious about me. I live here. So I'm curious about here. Just like I'm curious about other people at, moments where it's relevant. But one of the things because we were talking a little bit and we'll probably have a separate podcast for this, but I watch a lot of what's currently considered BL media. So in Asia, BL is an entire genre of webtoons and manga and TV series and YouTube series and whatever. Okay. So, and I'm all in it, right?
BL.
And so you can look the genre up. We'll talk about it later. But I don't want to do a bunch of definitions today. Because my point is around, why do I like this thing? When I look at it, it's because there resides an intimate dynamic that is being performed on screen that resonates with how I live my life. That's why I'm so drawn to it, is because there's a level of intimacy, right? Now, do I realize that? Yes, to them, this is performative. There are writers, there's directors, there's production. Of course, I know what the background is, but the reality is that the foreground of what they've produced has a level of intimacy within their relationships with the characters on screen.
I feel like
that resonates to me.
You're saying intimacy. I feel
Yeah.
like, are you just saying you like it?
No.
Okay.
Don't
what is?
downplay what I'm saying.
That's what I'm
because
trying to understand it.
Because you're not, your mind is like not allowing you to expand your perception of what intimacy means.
Right.
Right. Like things that are intimate. It doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be sexual. It doesn't have to be on some level of romance. It can be, but that's not the only version of intimacy.
I'm not saying that it is.
Right. Because like our relationship with children, for instance, that's a very intimate relationship.
Well, obviously, they're your children.
No, I'm just saying. But when we talk about what is now intimacy on camera, it's a really interesting facet to explore, because the reality is like when I first came into this setup, the first time that we did a podcast, I remember talking about the fact that I really had to almost realign my relationship to the camera, because I had a preconceived notion of what the camera was going to mean and what it was going to feel like and what's on the other side of the camera. Once I was able to let that go and just be like, wait, this is another form of media. So instead of being very intimate with like my paint and how I mix paint and the canvas and how those relationships are, because I know those relationships. Now I'm having one with this microphone that's literally 2 centimeters from my mouth, and this camera and that thing over there. You know what I'm saying? So like, and in it, we are in a level of relationship now. And once you have relationship, there's a spectrum of intimacy that's immediately there.
See,
so that's what I'm really saying, is that any relationship that we have, there is a level of intimacy. There's a spectrum of intimacy that is going to be there, because that's a fundamental piece of having a relationship. So you and I are having intimate conversations in the realm of video.
No, I completely
Right?
get that part.
Yeah.
But I think that there's something intrinsic towards intimacy that separates it from like. And I can like something and it not resonate with me, right? Or I can consume something and enjoy it, but it not necessarily, like for example, one of the movies that I like that I have no explanation why this movie is what it is to me other than my relationship with my mother, right? So this movie has an intimate connection with me, right? It's called like Riding in Cars with Boys, right?
I've yet to see that. I wanted to
Drew
see that.
Barrymore
Yeah,
is the lead actress in it, and it's the reason why I love Drew Barrymore. The song by SZA is because of this movie that anyway. It was a good movie for me, and it resonated with something personal. It was beyond production. It was beyond storytelling. It was intimate. You know what I'm saying? I don't have that with my camera. Right? My camera is a utility. I don't have that with my laptop.
But that's also a choice.
That's a utility. Yeah.
It's a choice.
Yeah,
of
and
your
I'm just talking about the
actually,
limited scope of perspective that I have right now,
and it's
right?
interesting because that's exactly why I decided to even bring that up, about the almost like the conversation I was having with all of these, what you consider utilities, before our first video cast, because I was, again, it's new for me. So as a devotional practitioner, I deal with relationships consistently, and I have a relationship to my environment in every present moment. So like when you were talking about, like, let's talk about being in the present for a moment. Being in the present does require you to look around, to feel into what's next to you,
Right.
to have a conversation with what a lot of people would consider inanimate objects, right?
I think that I do that when it ain't something that isn't alive, right? Like an inanimate
but
object could be grass, right?
is
But I have
alive?
I think I would have a relationship with grass before I would have relationships with a mic stand. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but so this is what's interesting. This is kind of what was interesting to me when it came up before the first broadcast. Because I also was looking at all of this equipment like something that was like stagnant almost, right? Functional.
Right.
And then I realized, but it's kind of not. It's not. It literally is, it's like the internet, right? This is like a source of, it's like a bridge. It's bridging what you and I are doing here to other people's environments, other people's eyeballs, other people. So it's not stagnant at all, actually. It's its own version of a bridge. We created these instruments through all of this technology and tools and pieces of hardware and, you know, discs and whatever motherboard is sitting behind whatever the fuck. But like the reality is that these all now, they are now alive. We have made them alive. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's not alive in the sense of like a tree or a mushroom or mycelium, right? But we're still making it alive. We make it alive every day because we use them, right?
I don't know if I agree with that.
You might not. I'm just saying, like, this is the kind of perspective
And I think that's where
me-
definitions start to come into
yeah.
play, right? Because
Well-
what is your definition of alive, right?
This is the question, though. So for me, I am not what's considered, what the term that people like to use is like a black and white thinker.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like there's a binary in that level of thinking and logic that I don't subscribe to.
Yeah.
Because I don't live in a fucking binary.
Right.
Right? I live on a planet that is literally in a universe that is spiral centric. So like, and is infinite. So I don't subscribe to binary. So for me, yeah, the curiosity is what drives me. Right? I'm very curious about life and how I think about it. So I don't really limit that to any sort of version that my brain wants to tell me. So first of all, let's talk about that for a minute. Why is that? Because the brain likes to tell you stories. Okay? The brain will tell you a story about anything because it likes efficiency. So the quickest way for the brain to have efficiency is to wrap a story around something and then go back to that story every fucking time. Right? So for me, even like just recently, I was having a conversation with my girlfriend and I was like, man, I'm over here. So Tuesday night, I was supposed to go out on a date. And about midday, my brain started telling me stories about, I don't think you're going to have fun because of X, Y, Z. I was like, shut up. You're trying to tell me a story instead of just saying, I don't fucking want to go. Okay? I don't need a fucking story about it. I don't want to go. I don't need you to tell me some bullshit about what could happen or create some sort of drama. There's no drama. I just don't fucking want to go.
I think I reached that point
like,
today.
Period.
Yeah.
Right? So this is what I'm saying, though. We do the same thing with lots of different things, and it'll show up in different ways depending on the subject matter, right? Our brain will like to tell us a story about whatever subject matter because fundamentally we're having a feeling and we are either honoring that feeling or we're not. So for me, it's just like, let me just get curious about the feeling. Why don't I want to go? I'm tired. I just really don't feel like going. I'm tired. So then I get to send a text that says, listen, I'm exhausted. I'm talked out. I don't want to have another conversation today. This is not a good day for us to go on a date. Let's reschedule.
Right.
This is also what allows me to be as direct as I am, is because I don't allow the mind to tell me all these other little stories, and I just get to the heart of it.
Yeah.
What is my heart really saying?
How do you really feel?
If my body's telling me, bitch, you are tired, I don't even want to fucking shower right now.
And that's
a no.
That's kind of what I came to with this class that I was currently in, that I just reached out to
Exactly,
drop.
that
Was
you
like,
just dropped.
my
You're like,
brain was
fuck
like,
this.
we're not doing it.
Yeah, I don't want to do it.
You don't want to do it. Don't do it.
Don't.
You
do
don't
it.
have to do it. No
This
one's
goes back to
making you
what we
do
were
it.
saying before. Follow your joy. Follow the thing that lights you up. I always say this: if your heart is fluttering and your pussy is wet, go for that. That's what we're fucking going for.
That's hilarious.
I mean, those are two features that you cannot lie to. Okay.
Yeah.
Those are things that are not, there's no fallacy there.
Yeah.
Okay. That's concrete evidence that is a yes.
There it is.
So
There it is.
joy and pleasure. Yes. Follow that shit.
That's funny. That's a mic drop. Who gave us the mic drop? Oh wow.
That's the mantra. That's a mantra up in my house.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
One more time for the people that didn't get it.
If your heart is not fluttering and your pussy's not wet, don't do it. Only do the things that make those two things go.
How does that apply for a man?
For a man, I'm not sure because I don't have like, so I imagine that the penis has like a spectrum of arousal, essentially. As does the pussy.
No, I think it's pretty black and white. I think women are a spectrum,
right?
and men are typically black and white thinkers.
There's got to be a spectrum because you're going from one state to a different state. So that involves a spectrum.
A travel, so to
Spectrum.
so to speak.
Spectrum of arousal, right? So she needs it on a t-shirt. I love it.
Remember to add yourself to, I think it's like chat, Facebook's restream, so that we can see your name on the stream.
Right. That's for y'all.
Yeah.
Y'all who are watching.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a spectrum either way, like because life is a spectrum. It's not a binary. It's not just like I'm here and then I'm here. That's not how life works. There's always the rainbow of getting from one place to another, or the bridge getting to one state to another state. So I can't really speak on that, but I would imagine that there are different levels of that feeling depending on how aware you are of your own body and how well your vagus nerve is operating.
I'm going to tell you, so a lot of my life, I don't know what's going on, but the camera's stuck. Again, it happened last time we did this too, didn't it?
It's stuck on me.
Yeah, it's stuck on you.
Saying. Okay.
But
that's fine.
Yeah, it's really not a big deal. But so what I identified was that there were opportunities for me to pursue, right? And I had to ask myself, like, am I really on fire about this?
Yeah.
And then and so throughout life, I've used external means to identify when that happens, because what am I doing when I'm in that moment? I'm focused on whatever it is I'm trying to accomplish or achieve. Thereby, I'm missing a lot of the joy and the happiness that I'm supposed to be experiencing, right? So I saw a picture of myself the other day.
Don't get a case of the supposed tos either, because the supposed tos and the shoulds are still a level of like self-flagellation.
Yeah.
Right? And so you want to be aware that you're not like, self-flagellating while you're trying to also simultaneously enjoy a process. Enjoyment is enjoyment, right? One of the reasons I work so much around arousal is because people have such a limited scope of what arousal means, but it's so expansive. Like, it's super expansive. And also it ties into like the natural frequency of ecstasy that is this earth is in a constant state of ecstasy. So once you tap into that frequency, it's a lot easier to like expand your horizons around some of these concepts.
Yeah.
Right. So like when you ask me like how would this translate to like a cis male body is what I heard you say.
Yeah.
My reaction,
like the equivalent for me, right?
well,
would be,
and my reaction to you is really going to be I'm going to ask you some questions because I have some curiosities. Are you in touch with your vagus nerve to the point where you can feel yourself root to tip? Do you understand when your body is feeling a certain level of arousal when there's a new project in front of you, right? Like the other question that I would have is, do you have stages of arousal? And also, what does arousal feel like in your body? Have you answered those questions? Like before you ask me a question about how it feels for you, have you answered your own questions about what is it? How do I reach these different stages of joy? Right? That would be my first question.
I would
What are the
answer that
different stages
question.
of joy that you have.
I would answer
that you're
that
in tune
question
to.
that I've spent more time trying to do something that I thought the end result would bring me that I didn't spend enough time
Enjoying the process.
the process. Yeah. And that's
This is why I
That's
work with
life.
motherfuckers. Because there's a lot of humans that are in that place.
well, yeah, for sure.
Because we grew up and we've been conditioned in this society to look for the end result.
yeah.
Mostly because for generations, our labor was oppressed, forced, and for free. So that conditioning runs deep for those of us, especially those of us who were melanated. Okay?
Yeah.
Like we're coming from a place where we were not honored, our time wasn't honored, our labor wasn't honored, and everything was oppressive.
Yeah.
Everything was fucking violent. Right? So for me, the act of living in joy, the act of providing a household where joy is elevated, where rest is elevated, is an act of liberation. It's an act of, it's like our internal activism of getting out of these old paradigms and dynamics that were just there to oppress us and
Right.
steal from us.
Right.
Right?
And
So,
it's tough because the conditioning has now transcended into a space where, like, these are societal expectations. You're
yeah.
societally expected to abide by these norms and these things that
Which is
we-
shifting.
Yeah.
A lot of that is really shifting. Thank
Yeah.
God. But like, it's also, society is who you cultivate in your fucking community. Society does not,
that's interesting concept.
society doesn't operate without community, and you get to cultivate your community.
That's gangster.
But
That's a good note to leave off on. Cultivate your community.
that's right, baby. That's
Yeah.
what you gotta do.
All right, cool. Let's wrap it up. So check this out. We're looking to do more shows like this. The idea is that eventually we'll get to a place where it's regular and time-wise. But if you guys like the Wednesday show, share, like, make sure you follow our pages, subscribe to all the socials and the things. But this is Anime Day. This has been the Commonwealth Podcast. We'll see you guys Saturday at 5 o'clock. Holla.